The greatest mistake that I ever made was thinking that if I wanted to be an award-winning innovator, that I needed to surround myself with people like me. Now, I got a huge opportunity one day when I was sitting in my office at the university. So imagine me in my big professor chair and all the books behind me. And I'm sitting there typing away on my computer, and a notification pops up in the bottom of the screen. Bing! And it's an email from a UN.org email address. So this is the United Nations, and my mind is blown. Somebody from the United Nations is emailing me, a little old professor from Norway? How on earth? And I read the email, and it was an invitation to a high-level professional hackathon, a competition for teams to see who could come up with the most innovative ideas for health and health technology. And I looked at that email and I thought to myself, Anthony, this is your chance to make your name as an innovator on a global stage. I'm so excited. My chance to make my name as an innovator. So I push print, get the email, run up to my boss's office, waving the paper in front of her and say, look, I was invited by the United Nations to compete at this event. Will you please give me the money that I need to travel to Geneva and participate in this competition? And she looks me up and down. And she says, Anthony, you're pretty new here, but you know what? I'm going to give you a chance. I'm going to give you a chance to prove yourself, because this is an opportunity that doesn't come along ever. And she said, I'm going to do you one even better. She said, I'm going to send you not by yourself, but with the whole team so you can compete at this hackathon. And now my mind is blown, because in my imagination, I was going to put together a team of superheroes. I wanted to put together the Avengers. Do we know the Avengers? Give me a nod. Yes. This team of superheroes that can go to Geneva and just break the competition. I love the thumbs. Thank you, guys. And so in my mind, I needed to recruit 3 people. I needed to have an Iron Man. You know, the Iron Man, the engineer that created that suit of metal and he can fly around. I needed an Iron Man, and I know who my Iron Man is. It's Dr. John, who has the office 2 doors down from me. He is my Iron Man. He is my engineer. And then I thought to myself, I need an Incredible Hulk. So the Incredible Hulk is also known as Bruce Banner, and he developed a formula to change him from a normal person to this monster that could just smash everything. So I said to myself, I need a Hulk. I need someone who can smash the competition. I need Dr. Edward, who is in the office in the building across from mine. So now I said to myself, I need one more team member. I need a god. I need Thor. And I already knew who Thor was in my book. My book, Thor, was Dr. Samuel. Now, Dr. Samuel is one of the most elite professors in the world in health and health technology. And I said, Dr. Samuel is going to be my god of thunder. And so I told my boss, these are the people I want to bring. And she said, absolutely not. She said to me, Anthony, you're going to bring 3 of your students. Your first semester bachelor degree computer science students. And immediately my heart breaks, because how will I go to Geneva at UN headquarters and compete in an expert level hackathon with students? They know nothing. And she said, Anthony, I'm going to send you with 3 students. I already know who. She said, I'm going to send you with a woman called Dembe. Now, Dembe is from Tanzania. She immigrated to Norway just a few weeks before this happened. And Dembe doesn't have great command of English or Norwegian. And so I'm like, how are we even gonna communicate? And then she said, the other student you're gonna bring is Dominica. Now, Dominica's from Ukraine. And Dominica is an interesting student because I've never seen Dominica's face. Because whenever I see Dominica, she's sitting there with her phone in front of her face, and you can't see her at all. It doesn't matter if she's in class or if she's anywhere. She is embedded in that cell phone. It's part of her body. And then the third student she wanted me to bring was Diane. Now, I don't know if many of you know about Norwegian culture. It's very reserved. It's very shy. It's very quiet. When you see several Norwegians at a bus stop, one will stand there and the other will stand all the way over there. So they have plenty of room between each other. Now, Diane was reserved, she was shy, she was introverted, even by Norwegian standards. And so I say that Diane makes Norwegians look like Americans. That's how introverted she is. And so now I'm sitting thinking to myself, there's just no way we're gonna pull this off. I got these 3 students, they're nice people, but we're going to an expert level hackathon. Let's just chalk it up and say it'll be a good experience and that'll be it. So my boss says, Anthony, I want you to book the travel, all the flights and the hotels and everything. And of course, as a professor, my brain is only ever doing one thing at a time. I can't process more information than I already have. And so booking flights was like the last thing on my list. So my students come to my office 2 months before the event and say, Anthony, have you booked the flights? I said, no, not yet. It's okay, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. 2 weeks before the event, they come back to my office. Anthony, have you booked the flights yet? We need to know when we're leaving, what day, what time. I said, don't worry about it, it's fine, it's 2 weeks, don't worry about it. 2 days before the event, they slam open my office door and they say, Anthony, we are not leaving until you book these flights. I said, fine. So I just went online, first flight, boom, click, buy, 4 tickets, done. Now I didn't look at any of the flight times or durations. And so I found out the day we left that we were leaving Oslo at midnight and we were going to have a layover in Amsterdam arriving around 3 a.m. And our flight to Geneva didn't leave until 6 a.m. the next morning. And that means that we arrived in Geneva after the event had started. So now we get off the plane in Geneva wearing the same clothes we've been wearing for 24 hours, and it's the middle of summer, so we are sweating, carrying our luggage, tired, cranky, agitated, not ready for this event. So we get to UN headquarters and we find the auditorium and we burst into the doors, and it's this huge place with 1,000 people in it and a podium at the front of the room with this distinguished researcher from the World Health Organization, and he's orating beautifully. And the minute we came in, the whole audience turns around and looks at us. And the speaker just stopped speaking and waited for us to find our seats at the back of the room. Now remember, we still had our luggage. So we were dragging our luggage across a tiled floor. And you know the sound the wheels make when it goes over the tile? The times 4, until finally we got into our seats. Then the speaker continued. And I lean over to my students and I say, hey, in the corner of the room, there's some coffee. There's a coffee maker. Do you want me to get you guys some coffee? And Diane says, oh no, I only drink tea. And Dembe says, well, can I have like a latte? And Dominica is like, well, I only drink decaf coffee. I said, you know what? No, you're all 3 getting coffee. I'm gonna get it. Just sit here and wait for a moment. So I go over to the corner of the room, and the speaker's up in the front of the auditorium speaking beautifully about health and technology. And I put the cup in the coffee maker and I press the button, and the beans begin to grind. Time times 4 cups of coffee. The speaker takes his glasses off and rubs the bridge of his nose and waits for me to finish getting my coffees. I'm carrying these 4 cups of coffees back to my students. And you know, when you have a lot of cups of coffee and it's really hot and then some of it spills, and it always spills right here on your hand and it just burns you just a little. So I get there, I hand over the coffee, and we sit there drinking our coffee, and we're listening to this man talk about health and health technology. And we soon realized that this wasn't about creating the next health tech. This was about issues around education and gender and disability and employment. We had no idea how big these problems were. And I'm humiliated because as I'm looking around, I'm seeing people who are senior in government and academia, people with PhDs, postdoctorates. I'm seeing people who are absolutely leaders in their field, and I'm looking over and I brought these 3 students to this event, and I'm just crushed inside because how on earth are we going to do anything valuable in this context? So 2 days goes by and the other teams are coming up with artificial intelligence solutions and virtual reality goggles and robots that do health technology stuff. And my team came up with an app. And it was the most disappointing result in this event. And all the other teams are getting up there and they're presenting their ideas to a jury of experts, world experts, and they're talking grand ideas. We're gonna help save so many lives. We're gonna help reduce disability. We're gonna help reduce mortality. And my students get up there and I am cringing. I'm in the back of the stage, just trying not to be seen while they're in the front and they're getting ready to present. And then all of a sudden, they revealed themselves as the owners of their idea. And they told stories about their experiences as women in technology. And they talked about their solution in such a compelling way that one of the members of the jury who was sitting right there started to cry. I saw a tear fall down from her cheek. And that's when the light bulb went off in my head, and I knew that we had something that had a chance to win, that we had a chance to make a name for ourselves. And so when the judges were up on the podium and they started announcing the names of the winners, I'm thinking in my head, I wanted Dr. Samuel and Dr. Edward and Dr. John up here. I wanted to hear those names. But instead, I heard Diane, Dominica, and Dembe come out of the jury's mouth. And we had won top prize at this event. We were able to come back to Norway with first prize at a UN hackathon, which was absolutely mind-blowing. And it was served as the basis for my career and each one of their careers in the years that followed. And I figured out the lesson that I learned that day. The most important lesson that I took away was that I didn't need Dr. Samuel, Dr. Edward, and Dr. John. I didn't need an Iron Man, an Incredible Hulk, and a Thor. I needed the reserved nature of Diane, who was so quiet until she came out with that one brilliant idea. I needed Dominica because even though she was buried in her phone, she knew what was happening in the world every day and every minute. And I needed Dembe because I needed someone who could keep us in check, who could say, wait a minute, I don't understand what you're saying. And that made us think more critically about our work. So I needed Dominica, Diane, and Dembe. So when you're working in your initiatives, I want you to remember that your team is only as good as the perspectives that they're able to bring to the table. And in that way, you need to think not who is a good fit Everybody's obsessed with hiring and finding the good fit. You need to think beyond the good fit. You need to think about the good ad. So build a team by hiring the good fit and the good ad.